Most people only consider the wage and length of the contract when signing a new football contract. However, the fine print of these contracts frequently reveal some rather strange stipulations that you would not expect to find in a sports contract. These clauses, ranging from the ridiculous to the completely absurd, are intended to keep players and clubs happy. So we combed through the archives and selected the 10 most unusual contract clauses in football history. Prepared to be amazed, amused, and possibly even perplexed. Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp is a football legend whose name will live on forever. But did you know the ex-Arsenal striker was terrified of flying? That's right, in fact he was so scared of flying that he had a clause in his contract that prohibited him from flying for European away games. As you can imagine, this clause cost Arsenal greatly in away European games. But it was the same for Bergkamp. His phobia of flying cost him £100,000 in pay, but he didn't care. He would rather travel by train or other modes of transportation than face his phobia. Who would blame him? After all, his fear stemmed from his experience with small planes at Inter Milan. Despite missing many games, Bergkamp significantly impacted the field. His moniker, the non-flying Dutchman, only added to his mystique and elevated him to an Arsenal hero. So the next time you're on a plane, remember Dennis Bergkamp, the man who preferred to keep his feet firmly planted on the ground. Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho, the Brazilian football legend, was known not only for his skill on the field, but also for his love of a good party. So when he signed with Flamengo in 2011, he included an unusual clause in his contract: 2 nights out per week, no questions asked. Unlike most professional footballers with strict nightclub clauses in their contracts, Ronaldinho was allowed to continue his partying lifestyle. And he took full advantage of it, hitting the town hard and living his best life away from the field. Despite his love of nightlife, the former Barcelona forward was able to perform on the field. His talent and skill were undeniable, and his off-field antics only added to his legend. Many still argue that his love of partying prevented him from reaching the pinnacle of his career and becoming football's greatest player. Roberto Firmino. Liverpool have a long memory, particularly when it comes to Arsenal's infamous £40 million plus £1 bid for Luis Suarez in 2013. So when they signed Brazilian forward Roberto Firmino from Hoffenheim in 2015, they included a €98 million release clause, but only if the interested club was not Arsenal. This clause was a dig at Arsenal for their audacious bid for Suarez, which ultimately fell through. Liverpool owner John W. Henry was reportedly furious at the time. He wanted to ensure that his team was not vulnerable to similar tactics in the future, but it all worked out for Liverpool in the end, as Firmino has become an indispensable member of their squad and a fan favourite. While Arsenal may have missed out on Suarez, they have since signed many talented players. Neil Ruddock. Football clubs can go to great lengths to keep their players in peak condition, but Crystal Palace took things to a whole new level when they signed Neil Razor Ruddock near the end of his career. Former Eagles chairman Simon Jordan revealed in his autobiography that he imposed a 10% penalty on Ruddock's contract if he weighed more than 99.8 kilograms. Ruddock was fined 8 times in less than 6 months despite being still frigging huge. The former Liverpool and Tottenham defender wasn't exactly known for his slender physique. However, the weight clause was a desperate attempt to keep him in shape. It's unclear how successful the scheme was, but Ruddock's career had already peaked by the time he arrived at Selhurst Park. Oxlade Chamberlain. It's not often that the terms of a player's contract make headlines, but Alex Oxlade Chamberlain's contract with Arsenal baffled fans. The revelation that the Gunners had to pay Southampton £10,000 every time the midfielder played 20 minutes or more explained why the Englishman was frequently brought on as a substitute after the 71st minute. It also demonstrated Arsene Wenger's reputation as a frugal manager, as he let the appearance clause dictate his team selection. Of course, fans of the Ox and Arsenal would have preferred to see the talented midfielder on the pitch more frequently. However, the contract clause provided some off-field entertainment. Stig Inge Bjornebye. While many footballers' contracts prohibit them from participating in extreme sports or owning a motorcycle, Liverpool's Stig Inge Bjornebye had an unusual restriction. Due to his father's history as a ski jumper, the left-back was barred from participating in any skiing-related activities. In fact, he wasn't allowed to be within 200 yards of a ski slope. Although Bjornebye's father had competed in the sport at the Olympics, Liverpool wanted to avoid any potential injuries on the track. It was a frustrating clause for the Norwegian, who most likely inherited some of his father's skiing skills and passion. Still, it demonstrates the lengths football clubs will go to protect their players from unnecessary risks. And let's be honest, it makes for a pretty cool running story to tell at parties. Stefan Schwarz. While most footballers have contract clauses prohibiting them from engaging in dangerous activities, Sunderland's clause took it to a whole new level. When Stefan Schwarz signed for Sunderland in 1999, he had his sights set beyond the football pitch. The Swedish midfielder considered signing up for one of the first commercial space flights, which was set to launch in 2002. However, Sunderland had a different idea and inserted a space clause into his contract, stating that his contract would be cancelled if Schwarz left the planet. At the time, the club's CEO, John Fickling, said they were concerned that Schwarz's advisor, who had secured a seat on the spaceflight, would take the midfielder with him. With commercial space travel still far off, they should have reconsidered and compensated Schwarz with first-class galactic travel instead. Spencer Pryor. Former Cardiff City owner Sam Hammam was notorious for inserting strange clauses into his players' contracts, and Spencer Pryor was no exception. To Pryor's surprise and Hammam's amusement, the Englishman's contract required him to eat a Lebanese delicacy involving 2 slow-cooked testicles. However, the Cardiff City owner was feeling generous that day and let Pryor add a pinch of salt, a dash of lemon, and a sprinkle of parsley to make the dish more palatable. To everyone's surprise, Pryor ate the entire plate of the delicacy without blinking. However, there was a catch. Pryor had been tricked. It was later revealed that he had been served a plate of slow-cooked chicken shaped like sheep's testicles. It may be the strangest contract in football history, but Pryor was up for it, saying, "I'll try anything once." Rolf-Christel Guie-Mien. When Congolese midfielder Rolf-Christel Guie-Mien signed a contract with Eintracht Frankfurt in 1999, he had an unusual request: cooking lessons for his wife. Guie-Mien insisted that his wife's culinary skills would help him settle into German football, so the club had no choice but to comply with the clause. A midfielder that prioritizes his midfield. While it may appear strange, many football players have clauses in their contracts that go above and beyond the standard salary and performance bonuses. Guie-Mien's request was a first for the Bundesliga, but it's not the only instance of a one-of-a-kind clause. Anthony Martial. Manchester United agreed to include a clause in Anthony Martial's contract that stated the club would pay an additional £7.2 million bonus if the Frenchman won the Ballon d'Or. The highly rated forward was compared to the legendary Thierry Henry when he newly joined Manchester United. Monaco was so sure of Martial's abilities that they thought the clause was very realistic. However, despite winning the Golden Boy award, the striker has yet to deliver the level of performance required to trigger the payment. The transfer proved costly for the Red Devils, who had already spent £36 million on the player. The clause meant that the total cost of the transaction would have reached £58 million. Manchester United has been chastised for failing to deliver on Martial's potential, with fans and pundits criticising the club. The Frenchman is still at Old Trafford, with many hoping that he can salvage his career and justify the high price tag. Join us next time, and don't forget to like and subscribe.